generic template, which I have stored right now on this. Here's what I did. I'll make a copy of this for you. I'll show you why I did it this way. And all I did was use Microsoft Word and inserted a table. And so I could, if I was using this room, it would have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns and 4 rows, 5 rows. And then I would put 2 boxes for each of the different seats. The bigger box to store their picture, and a smaller box so I could type in their name. And in their name, I already have their name because of the picture ID, but I'll have them type in whatever name they want it to be known as. So if the person's name was Richard, you prefer to be called Dick, I'd have them type Dick. That way I would know what to call him or her when I was in the class. And so the generic seating template simply looks like this. Now I could add columns, I could delete rows, I could do whatever I want to make it fit the classroom that I happen to be teaching. But most of the ones in Stouffer, for those of us who teach here, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 6. There's 42, and so they're pretty much generic, and I can just do it the way I want. Now, if I'm teaching the class, and I know that a student is sitting here, then I have that student take the pictures. Oops, find it again here.
It's up on your desk.
And if this is the student, I say, okay, take your picture and just drag it into the box. Now you'll see what happens is that the picture is way too big. And so I get the students to do a little, if they haven't used the computer much at all, they get a chance to practice with this. I say, okay, go in here and simply make it fit.
Your picture on that column.
So I had it. And then type their name in. I do a little bit of cleanup that night to make it fit, but basically that's all there is to it. Yeah.
A suggestion for you, Mark.
Uh-huh.
Elements, which is on all the computers in the university, it's Photoshop Elements will allow you to shrink.
I tried that,
pictures
but
in batch process.
I did that as a batch process, but
Yeah.
it was still too big for the boxes.
So it's still.
So I still had to go back and do this, so
Gotcha.
I did that with Photoshop, I did that with.
And you couldn't get it down small enough, huh?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's just a
For
thought.
some reason, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but the other advantage was that this was a way to kind of kid around your class.
Yeah.
You know, they screw it up, they put another one in, they talk to each other, they explain who they are, and then they simply type in their name. And then basically, this is what it looks like when I get done.
That's great. What a great idea.
So the primary goal is to have access to the student pictures. The secondary goal is for security. And the third goal is to get to know the students and use that as an exercise for the students to get to know each other. You know, they introduce who they are. In most of my classes, they're undergraduates, and they range from elementary to any secondary area for the method measurement course. So I have elementary students, special ed students, students from different colleges. In some of my classes, there are cohorts, like when I teach at CCAC, everybody knows each other already, so it's not as important for them. But for my 477, I've got 42 students in there right now, and most of them will not have met each other. And so that way, and I could also, if I wanted to, I had to have them put in there, if they're elementary, if they're secondary, I could put other kind of information in here so that when I do group work, and I want the elementary students to work on a project and the secondary students to work on a project, I have all that information at my disposal.
You could just color code their name boxes.
I could do that as well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very good idea. That's why I say this is not that difficult. But the idea is that you don't have to use the camera. Now, I do take my camera with me. I have a stepdaughter who's 8 years old and a stepson who's about 14 years old. And bless you. And before I got married, they had an iCard. And if they started school and they didn't get a new iCard picture, the freshman year picture of my 8-year-old would be when she was 3 years old. So some of the pictures, if you're teaching seniors and they haven't had a new picture on their iCard, it doesn't always look exactly like that person. So and I say to them, if you prefer to have a different picture, then I take my camera with me and they can take another picture. And then I just simply substitute that because it's easy enough with the digital, just put that right up on the screen and do it right there on the spot.
I've done photos in the classroom for a good while, and one of the options now that's real easy is almost all of our students with their cell phones have cameras.
Perfect. I hadn't
And they
thought of
just,
that.
rather than using your own, they just take each other's pictures and email them.
That's a great idea.
And that way it's done, you don't, it can go more quickly.
That's a great
okay?
idea. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that.
And I also used a similar sheet in the kindergarten classroom
Uh-huh.
to send home to the parents. So those of you that are LM teachers, I'd send it home to the parents at the beginning of the year. And because the kids would go home and say, well, so-and-so I played with today, but they didn't know his name. And so the parents would say, here's the sheet, which kid was it? And so the parents would then learn the children's names as well as the children learning each other's names a little bit easier too.
And I have
So it
less
works out
problem with
nicely for
that
too,
because it
yeah.
is directory information.
Right.
And so that they haven't said it as private, but it
And-
is shareable.
Right.
They're special ed,
Well,
then you can't
but-
take their picture without permission.
well, but a lot of the kids in our program, everybody had signed off for pictures for anything under the sun. I mean, you signed off all rights to your kids. But a lot of schools have